So I'm going to start by welcoming up Murray Parrott, Deputy Mayor of the town of Neepawa.
Oh, 2 minutes. Yeah, I have a 1 minute speech so I can veer off for a minute. Oh. How's that? Yeah. Okay. Well, okay, so yeah, I'm Deputy Mayor Murray Parrott. I've been here since 1972. And I'm pleased to be here this evening. I want to thank you for taking your time out to attend this information session for the LPN program that's going to be hosted here in Neepawa. And yeah, it's been a while. We've been working on it for a while. This meeting shows good partnership with the Assiniboine Community College, with Prairie Mountain Health, with the Settlement Services and Westlake Employment Services. And that's what partnerships are all about. The town of Neepawa is moving forward with renovations in the old RCMP detachment. And it's been a lot of fun ripping down walls and planning and doing the plans. And the College of Nurses have this thing about it has to be perfect, so that is what we're doing. We're building perfect for this training program to hopefully be a lifelong dream. We're very pleased that the LPN program is coming here. We do have a big hospital coming. And this information session hopefully will fill up all your questions, and please ask questions. Get all the answers you possibly can, because we do want to make this work. And with that, I'll turn it over to Marilyn, because she doesn't want me to tell you I'm single.
You give him speaking notes and he still does stuff like that. So my name is Marilyn Crew. I'm Economic Development Officer here in Neepawa and kind of spearheaded getting this meeting together. I just have a few housekeeping items. Please, please, please mute your cell phones. There's a lot of important information and I don't want phones ringing. If you have to take a call, please go out into the entryway so everyone can continue to hear what's going on in here. Washrooms, ladies is at the back of the room, men's is just at the top of the stairs where you came in. And as for questions, we're going to ask that you hold your questions until the very end of the event. You're going to hear all the speakers, you're going to get all of the information, then we're going to bring all the speakers back up and they're going to do a panel to get any questions answered that you have. So with that, I'm going to call up the representatives of Assiniboine Community College, and we're going to let them get settled, and I'm going to pull up the PowerPoint. So 1 minute each. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Can you hear me? Okay, hi everybody. My name is Erin Lambert. I'm the Manager of Recruitment for Assiniboine Community College. I really want to thank Marilyn and the town of Neepawa for welcoming us here and having us out for this information session. I wasn't nervous at all, and now that I look out and see all of you here, I'm a little nervous. No, I'm really glad everybody's here. Thank you for your patience as we signed everyone in. We wanted to make sure that we have your email addresses and information so that we can continue to share information with you about the program. I can send you an email after this, and that way you have a contact at the college if you have any questions. So I think we're okay to get started. I'm going to start off really quickly, and then I've actually brought two of my colleagues with me that know a lot more about nursing than I do to help us out this evening. So, this evening we have a lot of information to go through. We're going to talk a bit about the nursing program and the LPN profession, and then we're going to spend probably the bulk of the presentation talking about the admission requirements for the program. So if you're interested in the program and you want to apply to the program, we want to make sure that you know what you need so that you can begin getting those things if you don't have them, and preparing yourself to apply to the program. Okay? All right, and I think with that, I'm going to hand it over. If I could get the next slide there. Sorry, Marilyn. Yeah, okay, I'm going to call up Angela. I'll let you introduce yourself.
All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome. My name is Angela Faulkner. I'm the academic chairperson, or one of the academic chairpersons for Assiniboine Community College, a practical nursing program. And so I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the actual program and the profession of nursing, the LPN profession as well. So basically, this is a 2-year program. It's a full-time program. We don't offer a part-time program. Our class times run from about 8:30 to 4:30 p.m. Monday to Friday, and so students do need to be available during that time when we are in during the theory portion. So when classes are running. So we do have 5 terms. Oh, sorry. I need to.
Yeah, you have to hold it pretty close.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Sorry,
better.
can you hear me now?
That's better, yeah.
Sorry about that. So our nursing program is 2 years in length, and that's divided into 5 terms. So 5 theory terms, and those are each followed by a practicum. So you'll spend time in the classroom, and then you'll go out in the clinical setting, which could consist of being in a personal care home setting, or acute care settings like hospitals, that sort of thing. So as I was mentioning earlier, I'm not sure if you heard me, so I'll just repeat. During the class time, the theory time, we run between 8:30 and 4:30 in the afternoon, but during the clinical times, those can be different. So just as you're thinking about this, you do need to be available during a lot of the time during the weekdays, because we do have clinical that runs in the evenings as well sometimes. What else can I say about that? It talks about immunizations. That's one of the requirements, and it is something that is required for students to be able to go on clinical as well. So there's more about that, so we can go ahead. So at Assiniboine Community College, our motto is learn by doing, and so we make sure that we incorporate a lot of hands-on learning in our lab setting, and that's where students will practice the skills that they need to learn prior to going into the practicum or clinical setting. So in our nursing labs, we have the same equipment and supplies that you'll have in the facilities that we nurses use in facilities. And we also have mannequins, simulation mannequins, which are shown on this slide here. And so those offer additional learning experiences for students in our labs as well. Strong clinical component to our program as well, and that's where you're able to apply what you're learning in the classroom in the clinical setting. The next slide. On this slide, it just talks about some of the attributes that are important for students as well as those that are in the profession of nursing. So it talks about their having a positive attitude, being physical and mentally healthy. It's a fairly intensive 2-year program. Strong study skills, strong interpersonal skills, that's very important for nurses. Problem-solving skills, professionalism, caring and compassionate, accountability, effective time management skills as well. So those are all very important. Just in terms of employment, there's many employment opportunities for LPNs. Our LPNs are in high demand in the job market. LPNs are also being employed in areas that they haven't previously been employed in, like ICUs, ERs, obstetrics. So when you graduate from Assiniboine Community College's program, you will have met the entry-level competencies that are outlined by our licensing body, or the LPN licensing body, which is the College of Licensed Practical Nursing of Manitoba, or CLPNM. And then you can apply to write the exam, and once you're successful in the national licensing exam, you will register with CLPNM to work at the full scope of LPN practice in many different practice settings. Next one, please. So we do have some different types of courses within our program. We have our nursing courses. We have our science courses like anatomy and physiology, medical microbiology, as well as humanities courses like psychology and sociology. As I mentioned, we have a strong practicum component. That includes both practicums where you'll go into the clinical setting with one of our instructors, as well as preceptoring with nurses that work in facilities during your final practicum. There's hands-on practice in the lab, as I mentioned, and that also incorporates those simulation mannequins that I talked about. Virtual simulation is incorporated into our theory classes as well. We have mannequins, as I mentioned, some of them even will deliver a baby, so it's pretty exciting. And all of that is works together to help you to develop your nursing knowledge and synthesize that so that you can practice safely in the clinical setting. We do have a high success rate on that national exam that I was talking about due to the depth and breadth of our curriculum, and we do teach to the full scope of LPN practice. Lots of future study options for graduates of the Assiniboine PN program. For example, you can apply to take your Bachelor of Nursing upon completion of our program and with some clinical experience. What else do I want to say? There's a little bit more about the exam there, so I did talk about that. Once you're done the program, you can apply to write your national exam, and then once you're successful in that, you register to work as a full-fledged LPN. I think that's all I'm going to say about that. Some of those future study options that I was talking about, so for LPNs in the workforce in healthcare, there's lots of opportunities: dialysis, OR nurses, management, oncology, ICU, northern nursing. We have palliative care, nursing foot care certificates as well that are available through our continuing studies at ACC. So lots and lots of opportunity for LPNs out there. So that's all I wanted to say for now. I'll hand it to Amber.
Okay, so my name is Amber Robidoux. I'm the admissions specialist for nursing programs, among other things, at the college. But I'm here to talk a little bit about our intake, application process, and admission requirements. So basically, applications for the Neepawa site are already currently open. They've just opened up on our online application this week when the announcement was formally made. These new applications will be considered for the January 2024 intake, and there's 25 seats available. Applicants are encouraged to apply early with a complete application, as selection and acceptance will be issued on a continuous basis. So there's no specific deadline to apply, but obviously since there are only 25 seats, it's in your best interest to kind of work at getting all the items together and submitting that application as soon as possible. Admission priority will be given to those who live in a rural community within 100 kilometers of the site here in Neepawa or within the Prairie Mountain Health RHA. Next slide, please. So the admission and program requirements. So you all have one of these checklists in your package. If you want to follow along with that, we've tried to make the presentation in order, kind of following along with that checklist. One thing I do want to mention first, though, is that this program is available to domestic students only, meaning Canadian citizens or Canadian permanent residents. If you are here on a work permit or study permit, you would not be eligible for the practical nursing program. So that's just one thing to keep in mind. If you are a permanent resident, you'll need to provide a copy of your PR card with your application, and it does need to be valid. So double check your card that it hasn't hit that expiry date. Hasn't been a lot of traveling going on in the last few years, so maybe you wouldn't have noticed that. But if it is expired, you'll have to at least order a new card and give us the receipt or the proof that you have ordered that new card, and then that will be enough. So you'd upload that with your application. So aside from that, the academic requirements of the program. Applicants to the nursing program, whether it's this site or any of our sites, need to be have a complete grade 12 diploma or equivalent. Equivalent would be a Manitoba Mature Student High School diploma, or grade 12 from another province in Canada, or 12 years or more of formal education from outside of Canada. So you don't necessarily have to have a Manitoba grade 12, because we will evaluate transcripts from outside of Canada as well to make sure you have the equivalent of our Manitoba courses. A GED, though, is not considered equivalent. People get confused and say they have a GED when really they have their mature grade 12 diploma. So if you have done classes at an adult learning center and graduated with your mature student diploma, that is equivalent. The GED equivalency test, that's the one that's not. So we need to see from your transcripts that you have English 40G 40S with a minimum mark of 60, or 12 years of education outside of Canada, and a language arts course from that 12th year or later with 60. So you don't necessarily have to have these Manitoba courses. Same thing with a math at the grade 12 level with a minimum mark of 60, and biology at the grade 12 level or later with a minimum mark of 60. If you did not do a bio class in high school, but you've gone on and done some post-secondary, and you have like an A&P course, that would be considered as well. Okay, so these courses from your 12th year of education or later. Now, if you do not have those courses, you don't have post-secondary, but you have an adult learning center in your area, which you do, you can definitely upgrade these courses if needed. So if you don't have it, or you don't have the 60%, go ahead and enroll. You're still eligible to apply for the nursing program while you're enrolled in this upgrading. We would just need your transcript that shows what you have completed to date, and then a letter from the learning center or the school you're attending to show that you're enrolled in these requirement courses. So your deadline to complete the courses and the upgrading would be November 15th to still be eligible for a January nursing intake. And next slide, please. Next on the checklist is the Math for Nurses course. Math for Nurses is an ACC course. Regardless of your academic history, all applicants have to complete Math for Nurses through us at ACC before they apply. It's basically a math refresher course and entrance test. It's a 15-hour online course. You are allowed up to 4 months to complete the course, but it can be done much more quickly than that if you're prepared to work through the package when you get it, and you can write the test early on. If you get the 95% required mark, you're done. But you do have 2 more chances to write that test if you need to get the 95. If by chance you're not successful after the 3 attempts you're allowed, you would just enroll in that course again. And there's no limit to how many times you can take it. Obviously, the fewer the better, but that's not something that we look at or would exclude you if you are successful and it does not expire. So say you've done it previously because you may have been interested in the program in the past, you wouldn't need to do it again now as long as it's the Math 0014 course. It does prepare individuals with basic math skills required for this program, such as pharmacology especially. It's a high math content in that course. And fractions, decimals, ratios, conversions, right, calculating dosages and things like that you'll be doing in the nursing profession and nursing situations. And once again, just to reiterate, you have to have that complete before submitting your application. So the high school upgrading, high school courses, those you can be enrolled in when you apply, but Math for Nurses you have to have finished first. Next, please. English language proficiency. So this is one that a lot of people have some confusion about. Proof of English language proficiency is required by either completing an IELTS academic test or a CELBAN test to the required scores on the screen. And there are no countries that are considered exempt from the English language proficiency testing for the nursing program. Some of our other programs, if you are from one of the countries on our test exempt list, then you wouldn't be required to test. But for nursing specifically, there is no country test exempt list. You would have to do one of these tests unless you meet one of the waiver options, which we have a brand new second slide where we'll go into a little more detail about this. So the waiver options, if you meet one of these waiver options, you would not be required to do an IELTS or CELBAN test in order to meet the English language proficiency requirement. Number 1, if you've attended an English-speaking Canadian high school full-time for 3 years and graduated, including your English at the grade 12 level, not ESL, but like an English 40S class, that waives the English language proficiency testing requirement. Okay, so 3 years at a Canadian English-speaking high school full-time. Number 2, if you've attended an English-speaking Canadian or Canadian curriculum high school for less than 3 years or part-time, so an example would be an adult learning center, say you have your mature student diploma, If you've graduated from that program, even if you attended part-time or less than 3 years, you could still be eligible for the waiver of the English language requirement as long as you have one grade 12 level English, so an English 40S, not ESL, with a minimum of 70%. Okay, so 3 years at a Canadian high school graduating with a regular English 40S, or less than 3 years or part-time, but having 70% or better in your English. So the academic requirement of the program is to have 60%, but if you need to waive the ELP requirement, then you would need 70 in this situation. If you have not done high school here, or a mature student program here, but you have done 3 years of full-time post-secondary in English, in good standing, from a recognized post-secondary institution in Canada. So this would not include private institutions such as Robertson or Herzing, etc. So 3 years of full-time post-secondary in good standing would waive the English language proficiency requirement as well. Hopefully this makes a little more sense. This is not what our website says. Our website is a lot more confusing than this. And Erin and I kind of rewrote this slide the other day, hoping that it would make more sense. So give us some feedback, let us know later if this makes more sense to you. You can find all of this information in that messy wording, unless we get it changed, at assiniboine.net/PNELP. Next, please. So other requirements of the program. Bottom 3 on the checklist. Current certification in CPR at the basic life support or healthcare provider level. So that's what we're looking for your card to show, that you are currently certified in one of those 2 levels, and you must remain certified throughout the course of the program. Level C is not equivalent. I see lots of people submitting a level C CPR. That is not a BLS or HCP level. So make sure your card or what you're registering for is basic life support or healthcare provider. Also, first aid is not equivalent. Lots of people will say, I'll take my first aid with a CPR level C. First aid is not something we even look at. Okay, so basic life support or healthcare provider level CPR. You also have to provide your current criminal record vulnerable sector check. Now those are the ones that are done through your local police or RCMP detachment. Not one of the online checks that's like a background check. Don't Google it and just pick the top one. That's a sponsored ad, that is not what we need. So go to your local RCMP office to get the vulnerable sector check. If you are an applicant who's under the age of 18, you can skip that, just provide something else in its place, otherwise the online application won't let you hit submit. But you'll just need to provide it when you do turn 18. The final 2 requirements, your current child and adult abuse registry checks. Those are ordered online from Manitoba Abuse Registry, so different from your vulnerable sector check. And the link is right there on that checklist. If you wanted to go on our website, assiniboine.net/nursing, and find the checklist there on the admissions tab, all of these kind of blue links on there are hyperlinks. You can click it and it will take you right where you need to go. One other thing to say about the abuse checks, if you're an applicant who lives outside of Manitoba, which none of you are because we got all your addresses when you walked in, but if you were from Saskatchewan or Ontario looking to apply, that does not apply to you. It's just the Manitoba Abuse Registry. So your vulnerable sector check would include what we need. And next, thank you. The CASPER assessment. So this, I think, adds some confusion for people as well. It's not part of the checklist exactly. It's not something you have to do before applying. It's kind of the next step in the process that helps us select suitable candidates for the program. So CASPER is the competitive entry part of the process. It's a selection tool, like I said, that we use, and it helps us assess the non-academics, right? So everybody does all the items on the checklist. Those are kind of the academic things. Then you move on and we determine kind of how suitable you may be for the nursing profession for the program using this CASPER assessment, which is used across Canada and the US for medical-related education programs. It's an online test that's 90 to 110 minutes in length, made up of 12 sections. You can find more information on our website, assiniboine.net/CASPER, which also links to the actual CASPER website itself. There's practice assessments there. You can see what kinds of questions they ask and the technology aspect of it, so you're prepared. And there's many test dates kind of upcoming between now and January. So you can find information about that, be prepared for that. Once your application has been assessed as meeting all of the admission requirements, so the checklist items, if you haven't already done a CASPER assessment by the time you submit your application, we'll let you know that you're moving on to that selection and to do the CASPER. It is in your best interest to do it at your earliest convenience. So do the CASPER as well as all the items on the checklist so that we can make a decision as early as possible regarding your admission. And I think that finishes my section, and then we'll go back to Erin for the last little bit here.
Okay, a lot to digest. As Amber mentioned, there's a lot, all that information and more on the website, assiniboine.net/nursing. If you feel like you want to hear this again, we do monthly online information sessions for the nursing program, and you can sign up for that as well. I'll provide that link in a minute. So, getting ready to apply to a program, we sort of break it down into 3 steps. Step number 1, which is often where my department comes in, is choosing your program. So this is where I tell folks, you want to research your program, research the career, talk to employers in that field, learn more about the program and the admission requirements, which is exactly what you're doing tonight, so A+ for that. And then if you're still unsure or you have questions, just reach out to us, whether it's recruitment or admissions, whoever you contact, we'll make sure that you get to the right person and we can answer your questions. And step 2, so once you've made a decision, you've researched admission requirements and the program, you're ready to apply, that's when you can go online and you can use the online application to submit your application. As Amber mentioned, that application checklist is really helpful to know all the things that you need. So make sure you use that checklist to make sure you have the things you need, and then when you are ready, you go online to apply. And you can submit and upload all of your documents there, your transcripts, you can pay your application fee online, and it's all through the online application portal. Step 3, so Amber's already talked about this a little bit. If you haven't yet, you'll be advised to complete the CASPER assessment, and then once we have your complete application, so all of your documents submitted, then we assess your application. This program for nursing is a competitive entry program, so we will assess your application and selected applicants will then be accepted. Once you've been accepted to the nursing program, you'll be asked for a $400 tuition deposit. So this is not an additional fee in addition to your tuition. It is a deposit against your tuition, and it holds one of those 25 seats for you. Okay? And there will be a deadline in your acceptance letter as to when you need to pay that $400 tuition deposit. Then you sit back and relax until classes start, and then things get real. Yeah. So again, if you feel like you would like to hear this information again, it's Amber, sometimes Angela, and myself that run the online information as well, information sessions. So that's something you can register for at assiniboine.net/info session. Another one I will highlight is the financial aid and award session. So if you are looking for information on student aid, scholarships, bursaries, other sources of funding to help you pay for your post-secondary education, sign up for one of those. We just had one this week and I think we had 35 people in it. It's a really, really good session led by somebody that works at the college that has worked in financial aid and student aid for 20 plus years. Really great session. And then last but not least, if you have, you can feel free to take a snapshot, a picture of this if you want. This is our contact information. It's recruit@assiniboine.net. I got all of your email addresses here this evening, so I will send you an email with just some helpful website links, hopefully tomorrow, if not Friday. And then that way you'll also have a contact at the college. So if you have questions, if you want to speak to Amber in admissions because you have an admissions question, you'll be able to email me back and we can get you some help. And I think that does it for us. All right. Pass it back over. Sure. Who's the next? Is it up there? Oh, sorry. I'm running it now. Okay, we have Westlake Employment, Workforce Training and Employment.
There.
I should have done this on the video.
You should have done it. Here, I'll take this. There you go. Can you hear me? Yes? Okay, I got a pretty booming voice. I'm Janice Wiggins, and this is my colleague Shauna Cha. We're with Workforce Training and Employment with the province of Manitoba. And Fleur de Lis is with us as well, and she's with the Westlake. I never get this one right, so I always get it. Westlake Employment Skills and Services Center in Neepawa. So we are from a department of government of Manitoba that provides one-on-one counseling to help you assess your need for training and to develop an employment and a training plan. We can also help you with funding or other supports for that education plan. So keep in mind that our department expects you to contribute some portion of cost to your training plans. Okay. So for financial support, we can help you with programs that are 12 weeks in length, up to 2 years in length. So the LPN program obviously fits within that criteria. But you need to contact us prior to starting the program. So when I'm done my little speech and Shauna's done hers, I'm going to speak again, and then Fleur de Lis is going to tell you kind of how to get that ball rolling. Okay? One of the things that we can do is we can authorize you to quit your job and collect EI to go to school. Okay? But you don't want to do that until Shauna approves that process. Okay? So we're going to talk about that a little further down. We need to make sure that you have certain requirements, i.e. enough EI insurable hours. Okay, so right now, the feds, that's a federal government program that we have the authority to allow you to do things. You need 700 hours in order to access that. The more hours that you have, the longer you can claim EI. Okay, so if you're working now, keep working and add those hours. You want to work as much as you can. Okay, for that piece of it. Other funding options that you can look at, if you have Indigenous heritage, you can talk to your Indigenous band. If you have Manitoba Métis heritage, you can talk to your MNF. Erin mentioned that they have some scholarships and bursaries, and they have a financial aspect. Manitoba Student Aid is also under the province of Manitoba. They've got funding, grants, bursaries as well. Some of those are on top of what Erin's group has at the college, or in addition to. And then student line of credit. So if you're working right now and you have a really good relationship with your financial institution, talk to them about a student line of credit. It could be a backup. Quite often they'll give you prime plus a little bit, but you only want to use that one if you have to, right? Okay, so you can start working on that. And that's it for my first piece. I'll pass it over to Shauna, and she's going to talk to you about some eligibility requirements.
Thank you, Janice. Can everyone hear me okay? Okay, so yes, eligibility is a factor in whether or not you would receive funding from our department. It is determined case by case, so it is individualized, and there are many factors that impact eligibility. We not only review your request for assistance in relation to your needs, but also the labor market and the availability of funds. So here are some of the pieces that may make you eligible. It's a general list. So the first one may be that you have a current or previous employment insurance claim. You may be an employed individual who is low skilled. You may be in receipt of provincial employment and income assistance, or an individual who is unemployed or about to lose your job, or pursuing training in a high-demand career, such as LPN. So through the assessment process, if you discover that being an LPN isn't the right fit, then we would also explore other career options for you. With you, sorry. Our funding is also not a loan, so if you do successfully complete the program that you are planning to take and comply with all the conditions in the contract that we sign with you, then you would not have to pay the funding back. So,
Like that one. The EI piece is good too, you guys.
so yes, if any of this is sounding interesting to you, and you want to learn more, the avenue to this would be through Westlake Employment Skills and Services Center, and connecting with them to go through your intake and then your occupational research form, and then referral on to our department. Timeline on this can vary, so of course the sooner, the better that you get started. On another note, there may be some internationally educated nurses in the audience. So I do want to mention the Internationally Educated Nurses in Manitoba project. You may have heard of it. It could be a great option for those who are internationally educated nurses. It's a project that is an initiative by the Manitoba government to provide up to $23,000 per approved internationally educated nurse to help cover a variety of costs that come with obtaining license in the province. There's funding available for LPNs, RNs, and RPNs, with expenses covered from April 1st, 2021 forward. This funding includes costs for assessment phase, clinical competency assessment, bridge training, and licensing costs. All potential applicants should apply to the online portal and should expect to provide documentation to prove your eligibility. And so the program that you can access this information on is on our Province of Manitoba website, and it's https://forms.gov.mb.ca/IENS-in-Manitoba/. So if you're interested, I can give that to you later as well. So that's a little bit about the IENs, but back to LPN. I'll hand it back to Janice to wrap up on that.
Thanks, Shauna. Okay, so where am I at? Okay, so timelines. So what do we need to do if you're going to come and look at us for some of that free money that everybody went ooh over? So between now and January 2024, you want to work, like I said. So we do want you to continue working. We want you to apply to ACC, do all of those fabulous, wonderful things that Erin told you about, step 1, step 2. But while you're doing that, you want to meet with Fleur-de-Lys at Westlake as well, okay? And get some of the stuff started to kind of track into our process. You're going to do the intake with her, you're going to do the occupational research with her, and then Fleur-de-Lys and her staff are going to forward you on to Shauna. Once you get to Shauna, Shauna will assess your eligibility, and she'll start talking to you about whether or not you're eligible for an EI, a direct to quit, and to claim EI, as well as that other additional funding that everybody kind of liked when she said you didn't have to pay it back. Okay? So I'm going to pass it over to Fleur-de-Lys. Fleur-de-Lys will tell you all of the fabulous things that she can do for you at the Westlake Employment Skills Project.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Janice. Yeah, my name is Fleur-de-Lys, and I'm the Employment Services Manager of Westlake Employment Skills and Services Center. Whew, that's a long name. Yeah, for short, you can call it Westlake or West, W-E-S-S-E, so it's still also difficult to pronounce. So by the way, Westlake Employment Skills and Services Center is a nonprofit organization, and we are the partner of Workforce Training and Employment. So I'm here just to share with you briefly what is our role in this LPN program here in Neepawa. So Westlake has been around for more than 20 years, and our mandate is to provide employment assistance services to basically everyone who's looking for a job, and also to employers who are also seeking employees in our service area, which is the town of Neepawa, the neighboring municipalities, and rural municipalities. So our services include, of course, the usual job board. We assist clients with job search, with resume preparation, writing cover letters, interview preparation, and practice. And we provide information about training and skills development assistance. And that is where we are most relevant at this time regarding the LPN program here in Neepawa, because we will be connecting you with workforce training and employment. So if you are interested to take the practical nursing with ACC, all you have to do is come to us, and we will be distributing later on our referral process, which comes in 5 steps. unlike ACC that is only for 3 steps, so we have 5 steps. So the first step, let me just reiterate this one. This was discussed by Janice also. You have to connect with us, come to our office. We are located at 342 Mountain Avenue in the same building as the Salvation Army. We are on the 2nd floor, the same floor as the Settlement Services. So when you come up to the 2nd floor, we are on the right side of the office. Okay, so once you connect with us, you do an intake with us, and then the next step would be for you to complete the occupational research. Just like ACC, you are required to research also the occupations, and then once you complete that, you give it to us, and we will refer you, which is the 3rd step, we refer you to workforce training and employment. And the 4th step would be for them now, workforce training and employment, to assess your eligibility. And if you are eligible, that will be step 5. You will be negotiating with them for your financial needs. And if not, then discuss with them any backup plans or other options. So if you notice, the first 3 steps will be done by us at our office at Westlake Employment Center. And the remaining steps 4 and 5 will be done by WTE. So you can come to us if you need more information. And I would like to request Martha to stand up so that you will also see the other staff of Westlake. There are just the 2 of us. That's Martha and myself, so we'll be more than happy to assist you. Thank you so much.
We'll let Larissa take it over for PNA.
Hi everybody, good evening. So much information. So my name is Larissa Kamiko. I am the recruitment supervisor for Prairie Mountain Health. So hopefully we are going to be your employer at the end of all of this. So we are excited. We've been working with Neepawa on several proposals for years and years and years, it seems, and we are so thrilled to finally be getting the practical nursing program here in Neepawa. This is a very exciting time for us as the employer, as well as this community. So we're so excited. We all know that healthcare employees are in need, not only here, but in our surrounding areas. And of course, LPNs are certainly a high priority on our list. Prairie Mountain Health continues to support rural education initiatives. That's something that's always been a strategy that has worked well for our organization. It just really allows community members to be close to home when they are pursuing their post-secondary education. So these types of initiatives, projects, are something that we are extremely supportive of. I do want to say the region is very active in supporting the practical experiences as well. So those are components that ACC talked about. After each theory, you're going to have to complete a practical experience. And you're maybe wondering where you're going to be able to do that. And that will be throughout our region. If it's not locally, it will be in a local or nearby community perhaps. We do really try and keep those placements as close to home as well as possible. Although there are some specialty areas that you may have to be exposed to that might not be close to home, but they still exist within our region. So just know that we will be supportive of that. We do work with ACC very closely on ensuring that we get students to where they need to be, whether it's through a group placement or a preceptorship. So again, we're looking forward to those experiences to come in the near future. I did want to talk just a little bit about employment, and not only employment when you're a nurse, but perhaps employment right now, or maybe some exposure to the healthcare center, long-term care center, home care program. Again, whether that's here or in the community that you're from. So I know there's a lot going on right now with information about, EI, getting so many hours, all of those requirements. But I do want
again, to just sort of talk about maybe a casual opportunity. Maybe you work part-time somewhere, or maybe you even work full-time and you're interested in getting your foot in the door in a health facility. Perhaps there are casual opportunities that you could consider. So, we have a lot of support services opportunities, like environmental services, which is our housekeeping laundry department. We have a nutrition services department, which includes like a dietary aid occupation. We have casual and recreation worker that are required at our long-term care facility here. We even hire individuals into healthcare aid opportunities in long-term care and home care, non-certified, so you don't have to have your certification. So again, not that you have to go out seeking those jobs on a permanent, or part-time basis, but perhaps you want to sort of look in the facility or be part of the staffing complement now in some capacity. So I do invite you to check online under our careers section. Have a look at, you can even navigate through, just look at Neepawa positions, or you're from another community, just drop down and see that community's options. And perhaps there's an interest for you to, just see inside the door. Perhaps many of you are already employed with us though. And that's really exciting that you are pursuing or possibly pursuing additional education. What I want to say about that, and I know there's been a lot of financial assistance thrown at you, we do have a bit of a perk for anybody who is employed with us. And we do have what we call an educational loan program. We are trying to financially assist individuals with pursuing other education. Doesn't necessarily have to be in nursing, could be other career choices, has to be a healthcare area of study, of course. But if you are an employee with the organization, there are a few other requirements, a certain part-time, you have to have been employed with us for a period of time, I think it's 6 months. But we do have, you do have an opportunity to loan money from us, interest-free. So basically just, we cut you a check, and upon completion of your studies, we set up a payment plan to pay the money back once you would enter into, in this case, a licensed practical nurse position. So I just want to throw that out there for our already current employees that might be sitting in the crowd. I certainly invite you to go back to the workplace, search up the policy under the intranet, and find out a little bit more. And whoever might be interested in becoming an employee, there's time for you to definitely meet the requirements, so the EFT and length of service, and be able to possibly see an educational loan option there. I don't want that to sort of play a hindrance on other funding options that might be available for you, so it's important for you to talk to, like Fleur Elise here, about the options through those avenues, so check those out. I think there was reference into the occupational research. So I do want to offer our recruitment office as a place to be able to obtain that occupational research. Perhaps our office can be in touch with Westlake, and we might be able to provide all the information to them, or at least our contact information, so you can be reaching out to us, because we do those all the time. Okay, I think that was all I had. I certainly will be here at the end to answer any questions, but we really are looking forward to the success of this program, and of course to the future recruitment of LPNs into Prairie Mountain Health. And I guess the one thing that I do just kind of want to finalize saying is that the timing of this program works well, obviously with the new Neepawa Hospital construction already on its way. So that facility will have a 60-bed inpatient unit. We will be an expanded emergency department. There will be a surgical program, an ambulatory care, inclusive of a new hemodialysis unit. So those specialty areas I just mentioned, like ACC has said, we have licensed practical nurses working in all of those areas. So not only will you be sort of that general duty nurse? You will have an opportunity to work in specialty areas as well. So thanks so much for the opportunity to be here. Thanks for the invite. And next on is settlement services. So welcome up, Dawn.
Thank you. Can all hear me? Yes. Cool. I'm Don Walmsley. I'm the Executive Director of Neepawa Settlement Services. It is a federally funded agency that's mandate is to work with permanent residents and refugees. So I'm speaking to one selective group. Those of you who are permanent residents, our role has been certainly as a community partner in this because this is an exciting venture. It's something, as many have alluded to, we've been working at for a long period of time. I see our role as being able to do a couple of things to help those who are permanent residents. One, perhaps act as a bit of a navigator to help work through the application process, so you and I will have further discussions to see how we can help best. The other thing is too, obviously there's an English language component. We have a LINK program focused on the Canadian language benchmark to help prepare, so there's that. As well as we can probably look at programs through the federal government to access those soft skills, the CASPER, to address those. So there's some things that we can assist. It's like any new venture, we're all going to learn as we go through. It's an exciting opportunity, and I'm going to speak to the elephant in the room, and that's the hope that if this is successful, we get another crack at it again. Other than that, I really have nothing else to say. It's just been a very interesting and a very supportive journey working with the town, with the RHA, with ACC, to come to this point. And actually, it's thanks to the increased population that we have that we're even getting a hospital. So I think we can all pat ourselves on the back as being part of this community, and it's pretty exciting that there are these opportunities. And as Larissa was just alluding to, there are jobs, there will be jobs, and the timing is good. You know, so are you getting numb? You ready for questions? Because I think that's it, it's question time.
Yeah, so if you are currently in grade 12 or upgrading and doing your mature student program, then as long as you graduate and get the 70% in your English if required, then that would waive the ELP requirement. So you don't have to already be graduated, you'd still be eligible. Someone who needs to do an IELTS or a CELBAM though, you can't just show us proof that you're enrolled in an upcoming date, that the testing would have to be finished. Okay, so you can be conditionally accepted if you're enrolled in classes, but not the testing option.
Yes. Yeah, we have a full list. So assiniboine.net/awards. We have an awards search tool. You go in, you put in the program that you're taking. I think it asks you if you want to look at entrance or bridging awards. If you're entering a program, you want entrance. Bridging awards are going from first year to second year. Click search, it'll pull up a list of awards. There will be a number of scholarships and bursaries that are available to any student in any full-time program. And then there will be some awards that might be specific to your program, which would be nursing. So use that award search tool and that financial aid and awards information session that I mentioned. Bryce talks at length about Manitoba Student Aid, the government student aid program, as well as scholarships and bursaries in general, and then scholarships and bursaries at ACC. So I'd also recommend attending that session as well.
Thank you.
Monthly. No, every 2 weeks actually. We do that. The financial aid and awards information session is usually every 2 weeks. So there are a lot of dates available. And I know we just, I think we only have dates until the end of April right now, but dates for May to August will be up very soon. Yeah.
Great question. Yes, Ray?
Is the January 2024 intake date confirmed, or does that still depend on when the facility is available?
It'll be available.
As far as I know, that's been confirmed.
Great, thank you.
Yes.
It was in the media release, so I think it's confirmed.
You know what, I can take a look at that after, if you like, but it does need to say BLS or HCP on it. So if it says level anything other than HCP, it's probably not what we're looking for.
HCP stands for healthcare provider. That's the reason, it's the same requirement you need for employment. So it's a specific basic life support for healthcare providers. So that's why that's very important to take that component, that training. IELTS does an online test as far as I know from the employer because we do hire internationally educated nurses who have to go through the licensing process, whether it's LPN or CRNM. So those testing can be done online. So virtually, there's another person on the other line who assesses you on speaking, listening, reading and writing, yeah.
If you go to the Assiniboine website, so assiniboine.net/PNELP, which is the one that's referenced on that checklist, it links directly to the IELTS website and the CELBAM website. So you can actually register and sign up from there.
There is more than one IELTS test. For the nursing admission requirements, you need IELTS academic.
Yeah, so not the general test you probably did when you immigrated here. It needs to be the academic, and they're good for 2 years.
You know, that was actually one thing I had thought of when we were coming here, was that it might be worth, I have a contact that had reached out to me about, I'll send it to you, Marilyn, but I'm pretty sure if you have enough people, they'll just come do it in the community. Okay, they'll just give you dates and say which one do you want, and yeah, I'll send that to you.
So we keep a standby list, so that since this is a competitive entry program, meaning we select the most suitable candidates, people will be on a standby list up until the January start date. So if you're not chosen for a seat, you're on standby if someone is to withdraw or change their mind prior to like the first few days of class. At that point, there's no wait lists that carry forward necessarily, especially if we don't know if the program's going to run a second time. So it would just be for this one intake, and if you're still interested, if it does happen again in future, or for one of our other sites, you would be welcome to apply to that.
If it is related to practicum experience, we have 2 communities that we do offer free accommodations to students, and likely these 2 locations will be the selection of ACC anyway because there are larger sites. So in Brandon and in Dauphin, we offer a free accommodations for students while they're doing any type of practical experience. So there you go. It basically is a dorm type of setting. In Brandon, we have availability in what was the nurse's residence. We still refer to it as the nurse's residence. We've done some upgrading. There's shared kitchens. You have your own room. And in Dauphin, at the St. Paul's home, it was a nun's residence. We've converted that into accommodations. So right now, unfortunately, we have agency staff who stay there quite a bit, but it is also designated for students. So Dauphin is another great facility where there are tons of services offered. So you may see yourself headed that way for some of your practical experience. So both of those locations you can stay for free.
So on the top of the checklist that you guys all have, or most, whoever was here when we were taking names, we have our 4 permanent sites, Brandon, Winnipeg, Portage, and Dauphin. Brandon and Winnipeg have 2 intakes a year, so every September, every January, with 35 seats in each. Portage has an intake every September with 35 seats. And Dauphin has an intake every 2nd September with 25 seats. And then all of our rural rotating sites as well are 25 seats. Those are run kind of every 2 years in different rural communities. The ones we have announced for coming up in future dates are
Burden,
and
Neepawa,
Otterburn.
and Otterburn. Yeah,
Neepawa.
those are the 3.
And then 2 more to be announced, which
Yes.
will be in the Interlake Eastern RHA, and then another one, and no fixed RHA, but one of the usuals. And those would be for January of 2025. So the start dates are all on the checklist, which we seem to be updating an awful lot lately.
Yeah. Lots of announcements.
But the requirements are not changing.
And the
Requirements
Dauphin
aren't changing.
intake is this September now.
Yeah.
Yes.
That class is graduating right away.
Yeah, that's a great question. We don't have specific stats on that. Obviously, Winnipeg we get the most applications for, and it's the most competitive. Our rural sites and our Brandon and Portage locations have not had a huge excess of applicants.
Yes, let's be, I don't know what they'd be off the top of your head, but you're right,
Yeah, and we do it differently now. Previously, we had wait lists. You'd
Yes.
apply, go to the bottom of the list. Now it's a little different. You're applying and being selected for the next site, the next intake coming up. So it's a little different now.
No,
Some of the rural sites have had space available for sure. The permanent sites are typically full. But there's also been other factors at play the last few years, so we'll kind of see what happens in the next few years.
yes, we were just talking about the IELTS, we were trying to remember how
Yeah, IELTS is 300,
Okay,
I think-ish. I did do a kind of a cost breakdown. Math for nurses is about 210. I think it's 199 plus GST. Obviously, the criminal record check and the abuse checks. The abuse checks are $20 each. Criminal record check depends on your detachment, but right around 40 maybe. CPR certification depends who you go through.
remember how much Casper was?
Casper is 56, I think. So I think it's 40-ish, and then another additional amount to send the results to ACC. So some people apply to us, but also to maybe Red River BU. You wouldn't pay the testing fee every time, just the distribution fee. Sure.
How current does your vulnerable persons record check need to be?
6 months.
6 months.
Yeah. So the criminal record, child maltreatment check, all has to be within the 6 months prior to submitting it to us. And then when you're actually selected and in the program, you need to have an updated one at that point for the College of Nurses when you get your student license and to go on practicums. But for application purposes, if you have one already for employment records, it's within the past 6 months of applying, you can still use that. And you have to have 12 years of education or more, even if it's outside Canada, we will assess that. So we're looking for your 12th year of education or later, that would be your post-secondary. We need to see the language or communications course, math and biology, with the 60% or better, or a C or better. So you wouldn't need to necessarily upgrade here if you have a degree from the Philippines, yeah.
Yeah, so basically, anybody who's currently employed and interested in the program, you are eligible to take a leave of absence. It's called an educational leave of absence. It is an unpaid leave, but hopefully you can access some other funds, employment insurance. So basically, you would just speak to your manager once you have an enrollment or a successful enrollment letter to say you are entering the program, and you would submit that. So your position basically becomes a term. They may post it as a permanent. You're likely, hopefully going to be successful and go to another classification, but your position you own, if you're in a permanent role, will always be there for you if you need to come back to it. If by chance things aren't working out and you need to go back to your position, I think it's 2 weeks notice you give and you come back. Managers may ask for like 6 months at a time, so maybe it's like the first 6 months, then the next 6 months, we can post your term longer and have better recruitment into those longer term positions. So there might be chunks of time they ask you to take. And then we're flexible with those dates at the end because, school changes, practicum changes, and then we just extend if we need to.
In order to claim EI, what you do is you go through Fleur de Lis, do your intake paperwork. She would refer you to Shauna. Shauna would then assess your eligibility, see what you have, and if you meet the eligibility requirements, we have the ability to allow you to do an authorized quit. So if you're currently working, you need to have enough EI insurable hours. I said the base right now is 700. That changes monthly based on the federal government. That's where Shauna comes in. Shauna would assess all that information. She'd have a conversation with you, make sure that plans good, all of that kind of stuff. But yeah, the ability is there to go on EI, but you would never quit your job. Just hear me out. Never quit your job until Shauna authorizes it. Okay?
Right, but I think the question was around the leave of absence.
They give the leave, we authorize the EI piece. If they give a leave of absence, the feds look at that. I'm not a federal employee, I'm a provincial employee, but my understanding is some of the federal agents do have an issue with the LOA piece because it's not actually a quit. You have a conversation with that federal.
And just from an employer standpoint, please do not quit your job. You're going to lose all of your pension. all of your seniority, which seniority will play a different factor, but it's years of experience that are very important as well. So be careful if you're an employee with the organization.
We use the term quit.
Yeah.
It's our policy, it's called authorizing quit. But if you take a leave of absence, if you're working with PMH, that's fine.
Okay.
That's all fine.
Don't quit
Yeah.
with us.
We tell you to talk to your employer, right? Talk to your employer and make sure your employer knows what you're doing, especially if you're going back, right? So PMH is, most people are going back into that organization. If you were working, and I'm gonna make it up, if you're working at 7-Eleven, right? You're serving Slurpees and you're working in customer service and doing that kind of role, and you're quitting that job, then you would quit that job because you're not going back to it. You're not gonna take a leave of absence to go back there. But if you're with Larissa's organization, PMH, yeah, you take a leave of absence, you figure that out with your managers and your HR department, and then we authorize. What we're looking for basically on our end is we're looking for your employer to submit your record of employment to Service Canada to count your EI insurable hours, to be able to allow you to claim EI for however many weeks you're entitled to help us fund that education plan with some of the money that Shauna spoke about, as well as using EI to help you live.
So wherever your education was done, in whatever language, we're looking for a language or communications course, not necessarily English. So we need to see that you have the 60% or better in whatever language of communications or literature course you took in high school. The English language proficiency requirement is something totally different. Okay, so whatever your education is, we'll assess your transcript. It needs to be translated to English, so we need an official translation of it to do that assessment, and then you'll do the IELTS to show us your level of English proficiency. That's a good question.
I was wondering if you might want to speak about having a job while being in the nursing program.
Not having a job.
And potentially how you shouldn't have a job while you're in the nursing program. That's what.
Yes, it is a very busy program. The days, oh yes.
You're not very loud.
Maybe repeat the question, sort of like where.
So,
Close to.
Is it on? Yeah, I think it just.
okay, so the question was, is it recommended to have a job while you're going to school? And the answer, no, I would say no. It is a very busy program, it's demanding. As I mentioned, we have full days of class. There's an expectation probably of a couple hours of homework each night and on weekends, and then our practicums, those schedules change. So people do have jobs and sometimes they're able to manage that, but overall I think our students find that if they're able to concentrate on the studies while they're in school, that is the best plan for success, I would say. So yes, thank you.
Students always get 8 weeks off in the summer. So between their year 1 and year 2, the way it works with a January intake, you do terms 1 and 2. You get 8 weeks off in the summer, so usually July, August. And then you come back to 2 terms, 3, 4, and 5 straight through.
And then your final practicum. So that
Yeah, final practicum is part of the 5th term, but yes, yeah.
straight through.
Yeah, you still get
Christmas break, but not, there's no spring break or anything.
It's not as good as a teacher.
Yeah, 2 weeks at Christmas. 2 weeks at Christmas and 8 weeks in the summer, regardless of when your start date is or where you take the program. Scenario and situational type questions. Go to our website, assiniboine.net/Casper. Follow the link to the Casper site, and you'll get example questions that you can work through.
It's about Casper. I actually already did a Casper assessment test, and I wonder if there is an expiration of its.
Yeah, in the past you would have to do it within the admission cycle you're applying to. We've actually just made the change that they'll be valid for us for 3 years. So the information on the Casper website is going to be a little different than that. The information there is going to say that it has to be done within the cycle. As long as you've done it in the past 3 years, we'll still accept it. Yeah, as long as you've sent the results to us at Assiniboine, right? We don't have access to their databases to see everyone who's done it, only those who've sent it to Assiniboine. Okay.
is it okay to get a subject like, say, an issue ahead of time? Or does it have an effect on the financial aid that we will be receiving, for example?
Good question.
Oh,
So,
very
yeah.
good question.
So applicants can take courses in advance of coming into the program. Obviously, there's no guarantee that you're going to get into the program though because of that. But it could lighten your load while you're a student in the program if you have taken something. They have to be taken within the past 5 years of starting the program from a recognized institution in Manitoba. Say you were going to take Anatomy and Physiology 1 from us at Assiniboine, you could do that. You'll be paying more for that course taking it in advance because it's not government funded when you take it in advance like that, like it is when it's within the government funded program. And also if you're looking to apply for any sort of sponsorships or financial aid, student aid, they look at how much of a course load you're taking, what percentage of course load. So you can't drop down to a part-time student in any term. So just don't take too many courses in advance. But typically taking like A&P 1 and 2, because they're a term 1 course and a term 2 course, that doesn't drop you down below the part-time stuff. That's probably the ones you were wondering about, because everyone likes to take A&P first, so.
And one note on that too is that it won't reduce the length of time of the program. You'll just have a spare class in your schedule. Yeah. Yeah, extra time to study.
Yeah, terms 4 and 5 especially, you're not going to take anything in advance.
Yeah.
You never have. Those are always going to be full-time, Monday to Friday, 8:30 to 4:30.
Murray?
Can you explain how the tuition works?
Like how do you mean?
Well, when is it necessary to pay, how much?
Right, so you pay per term, right? So the term 1 fees are due prior to the start of term 1. Term 2 fees are due prior to the start date of term 2.
There is a breakdown on the website as well.
Yeah.
How much?
Yeah, how much each term.
Yeah.
So it's an estimate.
Yeah.
Obviously, we don't have the government funding amounts yet for this year, so we don't have tuition fees for the new academic year, which is what this one would fall into. But that's usually there by May, June, so
And
pretty good
it
idea.
doesn't usually vary by much.
Yeah, the estimates on the website now will be pretty accurate.
And that will include tuition and fees, as well as an estimate for textbooks, supplies, uniforms, anything that you need to have as a part of the program. It's got an estimate there as well.
Yeah, and the $400 tuition deposit that Aaron mentioned as well, that goes towards that first term tuition.